Her mountain childhood never left her. The woman in the video was singing. She had a younger woman standing next to her, holding her hand as she swayed with her song. The older woman held an umbrella over her face and shoulders. I could almost feel the heat rising up from the ground. The video had a TikTok-generated search titled "Feral People of Appalachia Footage." That made me angry. Immediately. Feral? The woman singing was not feral, and neither were the others standing near her. She was singing in front of an open grave. She was grieving for a loved one and singing a hymn in the Appalachian manner, a cappella. I recognized her voice, though I don't know her. I recognized her dress and her grief. She was singing the song of my people to her people, and the tears ran down my face. My grandma and grandpa moved to Kansas City on the Hillbilly Highway in the early 50s. My dad was born in 1956 in Kansas City, the first of four. Grandma and grandpa left their families in search of jobs like so many before them. I have written about my dad's folks before, but it was my grandma that I was closer to. My grandpa tended to have a temper and was overly religious and scared me often by painting the fiery hell that all others who didn't believe like him would be sent to someday. I remember crying myself to sleep one evening after he told me that people who listened to rock music were doomed to hell, and I prayed and prayed to a God to not send my own parents to hell. I didn't know how God could know my mom and dad listened to Led Zeppelin and The Who, but Grandpa assured me God knew all right. My grandmother was a different story, though. She was quiet, and I assume she was shy, but I don't know that for a fact. She was the middle child of 12 children, so that may have had something to do with it. Grandma was raised a Pentecostal. She wore her hair in the Pentecostal way her entire life, even though she was not religious by the time I knew her. I never saw her with her hair down, unless I happened to wake very early and see her with her coffee on the couch or cooking breakfast at the stove. She was always awake. You never caught her sleeping. She teased and backcombed her hair until she had a fluffy crown that you didn't dare comb down, and pulled it into a ponytail, and then wound round and round, pinning with bobby pins until it was secure, motions she could do in her sleep without the aid of a mirror. I once asked Grandma about her religion and her kin in Kentucky. I was raised a Southern Baptist, but I had visited a country Pentecostal church, and it scared me, and then delighted me. The first time, I witnessed someone speaking in tongues, and another dancing wildly as she was overcome by the Spirit, and the preacher doing a little dancing himself, while it seemed the entire congregation sprinted about the small church and sang and flailed and waved their arms in the air. The friend who brought me was a little embarrassed afterward, but I told her it was the most fun I'd had in a long time. I was accustomed to sitting quietly with the occasional amen in my own church. We didn't even clap in our services. It was silent except for preaching or singing. Grandma was not only familiar with the Pentecostal church, her uncle was a preacher in a snake-handling sect of the church. She told stories of folks bitten by a rattlesnake while handling the snake during service. The men bitten didn't seek medical attention, but instead the congregation prayed over the victim, knowing that God would heal those who truly believed. Some didn't believe enough, though. Grandma told me about at least one man in her community who died from a rattlesnake bite. She said they prayed over him for hours. I asked my grandma about the church of her youth. Why do you think there was so much jumping and dancing in a community that didn't even let women wear pants? The Baptist churches I attended frowned on dancing, but they eased up on the dresses over the years. I'll never forget what she told me. Jessie, it was the only entertainment we had. We lived on the side of a mountain, and we were hungry and tired and poor, but we got dressed up once a week and watched the adults let loose when spoken to by the Spirit. We laughed and cried and prayed and went home to fix the big supper we craved all day, every day. And then we went back to our hard lives the next day. But we always knew we had Sunday. I think some would say my grandma's Sunday services in the backwoods of Kentucky were feral, but I know better. I was also raised poor and in the church, but I did get a variety of churches because I moved so often, and I always looked forward to being clean and presentable every Sunday. And I looked forward to Sunday school. We were always served cookies and Kool-Aid, and sometimes there was a baptism, which was followed by lunch. I was baptized twice. The second baptism was in a country creek, and I always smile when I watch that scene in "O Brother, Where Art Thou?" when the people walk into the creek, one by one, singing another song of my youth.